This is an interesting comment from Jafar, who says they blamed Sancho the same way and said before Sancho, the problem then was Greenwood, then it was Ronaldo. But this is the thing, Jafar, and I don't care which online United fans I upset when I say this. That's because every single one of those plonkers has been wrong. The same as everybody that's ever just said the manager is the problem. And we can go back further with these players. There was a time where Fellaini was the problem. And then an aged out Rooney was the problem. Schweinsteiger's legs have gone. He's the problem. Pogba's a virus. He's a problem. Greenwood, problem. Now we know he's a bad guy. He was the problem. Sancho, problem. Now look, there was criticisms for all those players that were right. They were never the problem. None of them, ever. The problem that you had at Man United, and none of these groups wanted to listen to people. I don't care how arrogant this sounds. It's my birthday. I'm allowed to be. Didn't listen to people like me who have been screaming from the rafters for 11 years. It isn't any singular player or singular manager's fault that we are in this problem. Yes, criticize player A for doing X wrong, but don't believe that that particular action is the reason we are where we are. Marcus Rashford isn't being scapegoated. If you boil everything down to this particular moment, you could frame it that way. But Man United have had multiple prior problems over 11 years. He is just part of that because the toxicity and bad direction of the club infected loads of different players and people. I don't blame Rashford for where he's ended up. The same as I didn't. In the moment when you're angry and you're frustrated after a match, you say things. Fucking this guy, get him out of the club. I don't like him. I saw you the other day, LB. Sell them all. You don't really mean that, right? It's an instant reaction to something. But in the reality, the only reason these conversations that Jafar has put out here happened is because of lame brains and idiots who genuinely have been pushing a notion for 11 years that singular people are the reason that Man United are where they are. I'd sit there in spaces. I'd sit there on streams. It's predominantly Twitter people, by the way, and then the media picks up and jumps on it. I've sat in spaces listening sometimes interacting where they go, if we get rid of Pogba, watch us fly. Get rid of Bruno, we're winning the league. Sack Ollie, this squad, one of the best in the leagues. All these people, they get so much attention, they get so much traction, they always have a massive following that always say, yeah, you're right. They've been wrong every fucking time. The only thing that we've never tried to do at this football club properly is strip it all out, do an actual club rebuild from inside out, culture, stadium, training ground, good people, bad people, move the whole fucking lot on and start again from scratch. And do you know what's funny? All those same people that have been wrong are the same fucking voices that are going, this is ridiculous. I saw one guy already turning on the manager last week, and I don't think he's the guy. He should abandon his principles. He got cooked. People bring up so many tweets from the past when we should have a principle. We shouldn't abandon them. These guys will flip-flop every 5 minutes. They just want to live in this shitty little negative world rather than just go, do you know what? I've just been wrong for 11 years. And so, look, Rashford's got to go, in my opinion. I think the writing's on the wall. If he turns it round, fucking great. I'd love to be wrong about it. I'd love to be wrong. Save us loads of fucking money. I'm telling you that. But he isn't being scapegoated only by ignoramuses, only by fools, only by clowns who are saying we're bad because of Rashford. But why would you take the opinions of a fucking fool seriously? No real Man United fan, no real journalist, no real ex-Man United player, no one at the club thinks Rashford is the reason we are bad. But what can happen? Okay, correlation and causation are not always the same thing. You may discipline a Rashford and a Garnacho at the same time. I think it might be clever what the manager's done because he hasn't singled out one person. And that can send a message across the rest of the dressing room where everyone goes, fucking hell. How many times have you been at work, boys, and someone gets reprimanded for doing something wrong and you're like, I've fucking done that before. It ain't caught me. You buck your ideas up because you're like, well, I'm going to make sure I don't get caught doing that. So that isn't scapegoating somebody, but that's just life. And sometimes in life, you get caught doing something and you're taking medicine. So for me, Rashford isn't an individual scapegoat, only if you're listening to, sitting on Twitter with, or following the TikToks of fucking morons. So stop following fucking idiots and you won't ever have those kind of conversations.
The thing is as
well,
well, yeah,
rude, but it just annoys me. It's
the
11 years, boys. 11 fucking years of hearing that shit.
I know that one of the reasons why he gets so much stick and why people might see him as a scapegoat is because he's on 375 grand a week. It's the same thing that happens at my football club with Grealish, who's on 300 grand a week. Grealish, he gets crap every single week off some of our fan base. Why? He's on 300k a week. Havertz, he's on like 275 at Arsenal. He'll get crap off Arsenal fans every single week because he's on big money. That's always been the thing. Like, at the end of the day, if you accept the big cash, you got to accept the big criticism. And the fact is, Amad Diallo is 10 times the player that Rashford is, and he's 10 times the player that Garnacho is. So you got to put your faith in him as the future. He is a proper football player, But then I see Garnacho is a bit of a hybrid, but it's sort of that in between. Rashford. I think Garnacho and Rashford, neither of them are that great, but I think Garnacho's a better player than Rashford. I think Rashford's a terrible footballer. I think the reason why he had his best season under Ollie, one of his best seasons under Ollie, is because Ollie played counter-attacking football, and it allowed him to use that pace, utilize that pace, and the guy cooks. As soon as anyone wants him to actually like get on the edge of the box and take a player on, or like be a bit more technical, he's not good enough, man. So get rid of him.
I said this to you, Tel, a few years ago, and everyone laughed when I said it. I said it was Danny Welbeck who feeds kids, and I honestly believe that. I stand by that. I don't see any difference between those players. I actually think Danny Welbeck's had a much better career than Marcus Rashford and will have. I think Marcus Rashford has been one of the most overrated. I always thought he was a good player, but I think Man United fans were overhyping this kid as a youngster. I understand he burst on the scene and was phenomenal in the first couple of seasons. You thought, wow, this guy's going to really blossom, but something wrong up there, man. Mentality, something wrong up there with him.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. I always like.
By the way, just quickly, I don't want him either. If people ask to chat about Arsenal, no, I do not want Rashford at Arsenal. I
always like Rashford. I like his directness. I believe that he, like even more talented players, Sancho, Pogba's of this world, so many that we've bought for our academy in the last 11 years who've never got to the standard we expected them to. I believe the club has been the biggest issue. I think there was always a place for him in our team. He may never have been. Maybe he shouldn't have ever been the lead guy as well. Maybe he should have just been a sort of an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for Man United. If we'd have built a real squad, maybe he's part of the squad. Maybe he comes off maybe he comes on the pitch when we're leading games, and he's a great counter-attack option as an example. But I believe a well-constructed squad could have utilized a player like Marcus Rashford. There's times where I've seen us where we need someone who's going to consistently run off the shoulder to spread, to create space for others, and also to get in from behind. There's a place for him in football. There's a place for him at Manchester United. And I'm really sad to see it fall apart and end. All I will say is he ain't the reason that Man United find themselves where they are today. There's a comment here that says, unfortunately, people like Samuel Luckhurst write these stories, Terry. Yes, but only because there's idiot. But this is what the journalists have been doing now for a decade. I've been watching it. They'll wait and see what gets huge traction online. So it could be, oh, look at that. Someone's tweeted that Rashford is X, Y, and Z in a negative way. And loads of people love it. I'll write an article that says similar. Do you know why? Because then those fuckers will look for their confirmation bias and click on the article. I've noticed the mainstream media for 11 years now just copy what fans say, create articles about it. Even the mainstream media, when it comes to the content they make now, it's just money put into mimicking what we already do and say. Then what you got last night on Monday Night Football with Henri, that was amazing. Because it was listening to actual fucking insight for once from these professionals, breaking something down. It was so magical to listen to proper punditry again, rather than, right, we've got to create an agenda today or this season, and we're going to pick. You saw it with Souness. Souness had this Pogba agenda where he'd blame Pogba for things when Pogba weren't even playing. And it was like, hang on, no, you just, it's crazy to me. So we as fans have got to learn to smarten ourselves up. Let's have a look at some of these super chats here. Both Bruno and Rashford almost make as much as Salah. They probably make more than Salah when you look at what they're being paid.
I'd get rid of Bruno as well. I've said this before.
Yeah, listen, I've already said, barring 2 or 3 players at the club, I am not married to any of them staying. As long as Man United become a better team, I don't care who the casualties are, because I'm a Man United fan. I'm not a fanboy of a player. No disrespect. Whoever's brought this sort of fandom thing in where people pick players over clubs, it should be made a criminal offence in the UK to support a player over a club. It should be something you are. At the end of the day, you can get arrested for a lot of things online now. It should be considered a hate crime. If someone is a fanboy and they love Saka more than Arsenal, they love Haaland more than City, or they love Rashford more than Man United, they should get arrested for hate crimes. That, for me, is a hate crime against football. So it's vile. It's vile. It's a bit of a joke, people. Don't take it too seriously. Happy birthday, Terry. Enjoy. Thank you to Red Lion. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. Have a great day. Thank you, Mama Flossie. I appreciate it as well. V33 here says, LB, you really think any key players want to join City in January with 130 charges not resolved? They will want guarantees that City don't get banished from the Premier League.
If they carry on playing like this, they'll be relegated anyway, won't they, LB? So it don't matter.
I think that's a lot of nonsense, to be honest with you. I think there's stuff that you can do. You can put stuff into the contract, easy. Yeah, if you get relegated, you can leave a cut price. You know what I mean? Anything, you can do anything, man. There's no issues.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree. Pep being done by Amorim twice in 40 days. Yeah, I did see that not only has he beaten Pep twice in 2 days, he's in 40 days. He's got more XG in 2 games against City than Arteta has got in every game they've played home and away against each other. I did see that stat, which is quite...
because Arteta don't actually try and win football matches against us, man. He just sits there, innit? And now he's trying to claim that he's won a Charity Shield twice.
Oh, man, we'll get to that, man. We'll get to that.
Shameless he is.
I'll rant about that.
Thank you, Ray, for your birthday wishes, mate. It means a lot. And thank you, George, as well, for saying happy birthday. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you. Is Garnacho the next Januzaj? Listen, I think he's done better than Januzaj. Januzaj actually was in a better position than Garnacho was because he came into the first team in the first season after it started going wrong. Coming to the team like when Garnacho did 2 years ago, sort of 9 years into the rot, is a much... Like Garnacho was introduced to a squad that all just won the Premier League a year earlier. So he has far less excuses, in my personal opinion. But we'll see. Like, again, with Garnacho, I think there's a player in there. Now, me saying there's a player in there, I'm not saying he's going to be one of Man United's greatest ever forwards. I think there's a footballer that can be very productive for Man United. I do think his feet haven't been touching the ground, though, which is not right. Was Mourinho right in the long term or just excuses? Jose was right about a lot of things, but that doesn't... This is where it becomes a grown-up conversation. I loved Pogba and Martial. I didn't personally want them to go. If the manager that you're giving control to says they're a problem for X, Y, and Z reason, football fans have got to go with that decision. Ever since then, the rot has we were getting bad, but that's where player power really set in from. I don't blame Pogba and Martial. I blame the Glazers. They didn't even do anything wrong. It wasn't. They weren't orchestrating the player power. That's where people have got this wrong. They didn't sit and go, "Oh, guys, we've got the power. Let's start to ruin the managers." They just had a disagreement with the manager and got sided with. Then the dressing room knows, well, I can fall out of a manager and I'm getting backed as long as I'm on a big contract, as long as I'm good commercially. It's not the players' fault. It's the people that run the club. Just putting this out there. If Rodri doesn't come back, what if Rodri doesn't come back the same player? Wouldn't be the first player it's happened to after that injury. What's the plan B?
Well, we're going to buy another player anyway, innit? We've got to get one in January. We're probably going to get another midfielder in the summer. So... this is why I've been saying we need to get like a legit quality baller. We need to get a Bruno. We need to get a Zubimendi. We need to get a quality player because I've been telling my City fans this as well, saying there's no guarantee we'll come back the same. Do you know what I mean? So we can't be, cheaping out. On
how old is Rodri, LB? How old is he?
He's like 28, something like that.
That's the only thing. Age may play a part there, but although the stem cell stuff they can do now is I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast about a year ago. Oh, mate, it's crazy. The one thing that is interesting, though, did you guys watch the AFTV show where Robbie was talking to a doctor about the ACL?
I've seen it. Yeah,
I didn't realize this. He basically said no matter how good the medical is, no matter how much you pay, it takes a year for the tendon to become sort of rigid like a cartilage for it to work. And there's nothing that speeds that. And I always wondered, like, it always takes, like, it's just always a year. And when he explained it, I was like, that's makes a lot of sense, actually, that why it takes so long for it to repair and stuff like that. So the Dugout Football Channel, happy birthday, Terry. Have a great day and enjoy. Thank you. By the way, if we hit 30 super chats, we're on 14 already during the show. We're going to gift out 20 memberships to you viewers. And if, by the way, you guys want to join our new membership community, you can do so by scanning the QR code on the screen. We've got another watch party tomorrow night for the Carabao Cup as well. And I know a lot of people are enjoying it over there. So scan the QR code on the screen and go and check that out. Funny thing is, you lot said about Ahmad is the same exact noise about the Belfast Bebe years ago. What?
Who's Belfast Bebe?
Who's that?
Oh, you mean Belfast? That's Rashford, because you're saying he's as bad as Beppe, where he got drunk in Belfast. This is the difference, though, my friend. It's funny, but this is what I would
Not
say.
as bad as Bebe, man. What are you doing here, bro?
Yeah. It's a joke. I can take the joke. I look at it from this perspective. These two gentlemen never rated Rashford. So let's talk about us three people on the show. These two gentlemen either side of me never rated Rashford. So but they praise Ahmad. So they're not saying the same thing about Rashford as they did Ahmad. So first of all, you're wrong. I rate Rashford. I rated him. I don't think he has regressed because he was a bad player. I think it's the way the club has behaved and the way the club has acted. And the reason I say that with some, and this is where I would ask this question of you. We've had better players purchased and better technicians come through the academy in the last 11 years than Rashford. Why have none of them made it either? Why has no player come to the club, got better and maintained it? Why has no academy player progressed and got better and better? Why have most of our signings come in with a really good reputation? Even Maguire, when he was signed, came in with a reputation where City bid the same amount of money we did. It was only that we offered to pay it all up front rather than in installments that we got the player. So it wasn't as though we were chasing players that nobody else wanted. Why has nobody made it at the club? That's why I find it very hard as a United fan to single out individuals when it comes to it. Some I haven't rated personally, but at the same time, I look at the wider issue. And you look at most of their... And by the way, I think Rashford will leave. He's probably going to join your fucking club, mate. So look forward to him. Look forward to him coming to Paris.